Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's just about 7 o'clock. So if I could ask all the candidates to come up here and take their appropriate seats, please. We'll get started. Takes them a while to figure out who's on first. Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mel Woodhouse, and I am the MC for tonight. I'll also be the timekeeper. On behalf of your host, the Niagara Centre Board of Trade and Commerce, we'd like to welcome you to this evening's event. I'd like to thank the Four Points Sheraton Hotel here in Fall for providing the venue for this evening. It's a great spot and it's a great venue, so you'll see that it's quite an impressive place. I'm privileged to welcome our media representatives and thank them for their contributions and participation in this forum. And finally, I'd like to thank all the candidates for agreeing to participate in this most important election. This is what democracy is all about, and I'm glad to see there's so many people here who are interested in the Niagara Centre riding. Let me introduce our media panel. Susan Pedler is part of a small and dedicated team of professors who teach multi-platform journalism at Niagara College. Her focus is helping young journalists develop digital storytelling skills. Pedler spent 15 years crisscrossing Canada as a journalist with CBC TV News. Before joining Niagara College, Pedler was based in Windsor, Ontario, where she produced and hosted CBC News Windsor at 6 and CBC News Windsor Late Night. She was also CBC TV national reporter for Southwestern Ontario. Pedler grew up in nearby St. Catharines. She's a proud graduate of Brock University in Communications Social Policy and Ryerson University in Journalism. Susan, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Grant LaFleche is an award-winning investigative journalist and columnist with the St. Catharines Standard in Niagara, Ontario. Since he started with the Standard in 1998, Grant has been nominated for 21 Ontario Newspaper Awards and 3 National Newspaper Awards, recently winning the NNA for his 2017 series on clergy abuse. Any of you who have read that series of articles brought tears to your eyes, I'm sure. Just excellent work. His work appears in nightly daily newspapers, the Hamilton Spectator and the Toronto Star. Grant's articles previously appeared in Postmedia's newspapers, including in the Toronto Sun chain of papers and the National Post. He was a host of the Standard's Lake to Lake podcast and currently hosts the new Inside the Newsroom podcast. Welcome, Grant. Our panel will ask their questions in rotation, and the question candidate will be allowed a 2-minute response. I will enforce the timelines. I got a cell phone here that actually is pretty good at it. Seconds. So this is a portable mic, and they'll be handed to each of the candidates, and I'm going to ask them to cooperate, which I'm sure they will, and just hand it on to the next candidate in line to hear their responses. Failing to do that, then I'll be forced to take other action.
You will, too.
I will. All other candidates will be allowed 1 minute to respond to the comments made by the candidate who answered the question. The subjects for discussion will be determined by our panel and from the questionnaires that were submitted by you when you came in the door. We will do our very best to ensure that equal opportunity is provided to each candidate in this debate. Please note, candidates, please be advised that our media representatives may interrupt you to bring clarity and focus on the questions asked. to bring it back to the point in question. So they've all been advised of this. We've had a discussion prior to this, so that they are all aware of those points. The rules of engagement. Each candidate will be provided a 2-minute introduction. They can, if they choose, come up here, kick me off of this thesis. That's fine, or they can just simply stand where they are and give their 2-minute introduction. They may want to have papers here, I'm not sure. At the conclusion of the debate, each candidate will also be allotted 2-minute closing comments. I want to remind everyone that no cheering, booing, or loud outbursts will be tolerated. We are all here to listen and learn and for our candidates to be heard. So I would ask everybody to cooperate along those lines. No political materials, signs, buttons, etc. will be allowed for distribution or display. Failure to comply with this format may result in your candidate being passed over in the question rotation. Previously, the candidates drew numbers to determine the order of their questioning, and you see Stephen on my far right is the first one, and he must be a pretty lucky guy because the first ballot he drew got him the first question. So let's get started. Our first question goes to Stephen. Oh, I'm sorry, opening statement, yes. Please. Stephen, you're first.
We'll get it down, don't worry.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to this important debate. Tonight, you're going to hear a message from the big three parties, change. But it's not change. It's change wrapped up as more of the same. You can get the sell-off of the 407 with the PCs, you can get Ray Days with the NDP, or you can get high deficits and debt servicing with the Liberals. Or you can choose different. You can choose an alternative choice, someone who's born and raised in this area and cares nothing more than to represent his friends, neighbors, and community at Queen's Park. And I have a proven record of doing so. At the region, I stood up in the face of the opioid crisis. I've recommended immediate restoral of health care services to the Welland Hospital. I fought for the families of missing loved ones in the wake of Ashley Simpson going missing. At Welland City Council, I brought forward the initiative of online voting and ward naming. And I fought against animal abuse when that veterinarian was found guilty under those charges, and it was absolutely disgusting. So, I've been involved in politics since the age of 19. I've ran as a federal candidate for the Niagara Falls riding. I've ran as a Welland City Council candidate for Ward 6. And I'm excited to be here running as an independent. I am tired of the party system, period. Political parties are told what to do by their party boss, and they don't represent communities. The parties are literally paid for your vote. They get a big, giant subsidy based on how many votes they get. The Liberals got $1.8 million that they get to use towards this campaign. It's absolutely sickening. That's not how our tax dollars should be allocated when we need essential healthcare services here in Niagara. The debt servicing costs $1 billion, over $1 billion a month to service the debt. That could be a new hospital every month. And here we are, people literally in waiting rooms waiting for essential healthcare services and doctors. So tonight I put together my own platform that is tailored for the people of Niagara Centre. It wasn't handed to me by my party boss. I thought it up by myself, and it includes mental health and addictions. And I'm going to draw on my own experience because I've had a problem with addictions in the past, and I'm not embarrassed to say it anymore. I fought and clawed my way to recovery, and I want to help other people do the same. And I also went to the region to say that a few weeks ago. You know, everyone said, why are you talking about the region right now, Stephen? It's not prevalent to this conversation. Well, you have to have a strong grasp of provincial issues to be successful at speaking at the region. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would ask everybody to stick to the 2 minutes. If I have to get a little more aggressive, I guess I will. Please.
Hey everyone, my name is Patrick Petrushko, and I'm representing the Libertarian Party of Ontario. Today somebody asked me what qualifications I have to be here. I kind of got sidetracked. I wasn't sure what to tell them. But now, when I thought about it, my qualification is that I'm not a politician. I'm just a concerned citizen, and I live in Niagara Centre, and I just felt there was nobody to vote for this election. And I also live in Welland, and I know what people in Welland are struggling with. And that includes Thorold and in Port Colborne too. I know what it feels like living paycheck to paycheck, because I've gone through that myself, and I know people are struggling with it. I am here representing the only party that actually cares about you and what your choices are. I'm here with the party that's fighting for choices when it comes to educating your children and healthcare. The Libertarian Party is a party with small government, more choices, and better education for children. My party is the only one fighting for a smaller government, less regulation, and more rights. I've spoken with people all across the riding. The support for the Libertarian Party is quickly spreading. If you truly care about having more freedom, vote for me. If you want to waste another vote, continue voting for the big parties, since they are all the same. They all want big government and more regulation. The Libertarian Party trusts that you are responsible enough and smart enough to make your own decisions. The big parties want to make all of your choices for you. Do not be fooled by them. Vote for the Libertarian Party and vote for freedom in this upcoming election. Thank you.
A little anxious. I wanted to get up, not lose time. I'm Joe Diaz. I'm representing the Green Party of Ontario. For me, I'm like the previous two candidates. I'm not a politician by any stretch. I do feel, though, that there's something for all of us to contribute into our democracy right now. The Green Party is about people power change, about everybody stepping up. It's been too long that we've let people that are, I don't want to use political elite or any of that stuff, in positions where they could make the right decision and don't. Our policy is about balance, understanding that debt has to be handled, but there are things that are important as well, like climate change, like jobs. All of this is connected. Jobs cannot come when we're still relying on an old system of energy collection, nor can we not move from it without taking into consideration how many people are still dependent upon it. Transition. Right now, places in the US and in Europe, as well as Southeast Asia, are looking at ways to move forward as far as climate change and the environment, as well as energy generation. Only a week ago, we saw the weather in St. Catharines and most of southwestern Ontario take a wild turn where close to 50,000 people without power. Are we assuming that the next year, 2 years, it's going to get better? Or as we've seen with New Brunswick, what we've seen with wildfires in Alberta, with flooding and fires in British Columbia, that things are going to get better. Government has to step up and start saying, and taking a role in saying, we need to make some honest changes and improve the plight of people. I have 10 seconds. Hopefully you'll look at our platform and see that we offer an alternative that might be a little bit better, more suited to you. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am April Jeffs, and I am the PC candidate, and I am a politician. For those of you who know me, I am the mayor of Wainfleet. I've been the mayor of Wainfleet for almost 8 years now. But before I get into why I'm running, I just wanted to thank the Niagara Centre Board of Trade and Commerce for hosting this event, and I want to also thank my colleagues for being here tonight. Looking forward to a good discussion. But most of all, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to come out tonight, because I know everybody's very busy and works, so it's great to see such an interest, and I think this is a very, very important election. So as I said, I've been the mayor of Wainfleet for almost 8 years now. I went into municipal politics to be a community leader because, like most of us, we want to affect change. And being the mayor for a few years now, a lot of the current provincial policies are what has prompted me to run for this position. A lot of you know about our wind turbine fight, and then we all know, as a Southern Tier Mayor, about how I fought along with Mayor Campion and Mayor Maloney to save the Welland Hospital and also to keep the Port Colborne urgent care open. And we know that there are a lot of issues with our healthcare wait times. And the other, to me, that's one of the most important things. But also, we're talking about jobs. I've heard a few people mention that. We go out and we visit our businesses in Wingfleet, and I continually hear about the strangling red tape and regulation that makes it so difficult for businesses if they want to expand or grow in any way. It's either too costly or it takes too much time, and they just don't want to bother. And that, I really believe, is a large part of what's impacting jobs in Niagara Centre. And so those are the three key points, and respecting taxpayer money. I'm a mom. I'm raising two boys. They joke that they may live with me forever, and I have said, you know what, you just may if we keep going this way. So a few of the personal reasons why I'm here tonight, and I look forward to debating with my colleagues, and thank you very much.
Good evening, bonsoir. First off, before we begin, I'd like to recognize that the land on which we meet this evening was first settled by the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee First Nations people. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I think it's important that we recognize that we were not the firsts here. My name is Benoit Mercier, and I'm privileged to be the Liberal candidate for the Niagara Centre riding once again. I was born and raised in Welland, and it is still my home today, unlike my opponents from the other two major parties. I am a concerned citizen of South Niagara who hopes to be a catalyst for positive change in our riding. I have a great love for this area, the province, for it has made me into the person that I am today. I have chosen once again to put my name forward because I feel strongly that I have something good to offer. I am a fighter. I will fight for you at Queen's Park. I will fight for quality health care, good jobs, and a first-class education system so that our children can learn the skills necessary to compete globally and grow our local economy. I will fight for the less fortunate so that they may receive the service to which they are entitled in order to achieve their dreams. My opponents are fighting for themselves, not for you. If elected, I will work hard to garner the respect that we so rightly deserve, for Niagara does not end at the escarpment. For too long, we have been ignored. So tonight, I urge all of you to listen closely to what we have to say, and on June 7th, the people of Niagara Centre will make a critical choice about our future with long-lasting effect. I thank you in advance for the time that you will be listening to us this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Birch. I'm representing the NDP. I'd like to thank the organizers of tonight's event, all of you for coming tonight, and my fellow candidates for running in this election. Ontarians are feeling squeezed. We have a healthcare system that is in crisis. We have hallway medicine. There are young people who leave university and college disheartened because they have huge student debt and have no opportunity. Hydro rates have skyrocketed under the Liberal government as they have privatized and sold off our hydro system. It's clear that we need change, but what kind of change? When the Conservatives were in power, they laid off 6,000 nurses, closed 28 hospitals, and closed 7,000 hospital beds. Doug Ford has said he will conduct another $6 billion in cuts, and he will leave no stone unturned in finding further ways to privatize our services. But there is hope. Only the NDP has come forward with a comprehensive, fully costed platform prior to the dropping of the grid. We believe that we need to take our hydro system and bring it back under public control so we can get those costs under control and bring it back into public ownership where it belongs. We believe we need to fix our healthcare system so that we properly fund our hospitals. We will deliver a national pharmacare program, the first in Canada, so that everyone has the drugs that they need. A dental program, so that children have the dental care that they need and they don't end up in the hospital years later. And we will forgive student loans and make grants into loans into grants in the future, so that our children, when they get out of university and college, have a future. Creating over 15,000 co-op placements when they get out of college and university. We hope that you will listen tonight, listen to our platform. It is a fully costed platform, and I look forward to discussing it and answering your questions this evening. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to start with our questions. Thanks to all the candidates, and I think you did really well, all of you, by the way. Okay, the first question. Perfect. There you go. Do it. Will you please answer your question? Just hang on.
Can everybody hear me all right? Yes, no, maybe so?
A little louder.
A little louder? Can you hear me now? I kind of was channeling my inner Venus flytrap there for a second. So we're going to dive into the questions. I just wanted to say, though, the crowd tonight is actually impressive that this many of you have come out. And I think Susan will agree. You've been a journalist covering politics long enough, we get very, very jaded, and you sometimes despair about the health of democracy. So it's so nice to see you all here. And please, really quickly, just give a hand to the candidates. We have the easy job on this side of the table, and they're the ones who get all the slings and arrows tonight. And I do kind of apologize to everybody because this will look at the side of your head. So if you don't look directly at you, it's just because of our setup tonight. So we'll start with you, Stephen, and this is a pretty, I just got these, by the way. It's very distressing to me. I could deal with the gray hair, but the glasses is a bit much. So this is sort of a general question to start with, and I guess it dovetails nicely on what you said in your opening remarks, which is, why do you want to represent this riding at Queen's Park, and what will you do, or what can you do to improve the quality of life in Niagara Centre?
Well, I'll begin by telling you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to continue voting and racking up the bills at Queen's Park to a $312 billion deficit. I just want to tack on what Benoit said, that his opponents are here only for themselves. If that was true, I wouldn't be running as an independent candidate. I'd be cashing in on one of the big parties. So, here's the thing. I want to be your representative at Queen's Park because we need new ideas. I've been focused on new ideas since I entered again at age 19. You know, we're in a hydro mess. Electricity costs are going up for businesses. They don't want to do business here in Ontario because the hydro costs and the taxes are just too darn high. You know, if I'm elected, I'm going to introduce a private members bill and dismantle cap and trade, because it's a system that doesn't work. Cap and trade is the government giving contracts to big polluters, asking them to reduce, but they end up polluting more because in the contract, it's just a promise to reduce emissions. It's not actually reducing emissions. In terms of mental health and addictions, I've been huge on this. You know, I've been a child and youth worker, and I've worked with vulnerable children, and I've seen the worst of the worst cases, and I'm not going to get into all that tonight, but I'm going to tell you this. In the mental health system, I don't know why we're just simply locking up our patients and then just leaving them to lay in a bed and be more anxious and more depressed. We need more therapeutic approaches implemented in those systems so that people can actually get help. I remember just shortly having a client, and the client had a lot of anger and would be violent towards people and even their caregivers. And some of the youth workers I worked with would actually just go right to restraint. And it's similar in the mental health system where you just go right to locking a person up. That takes away human dignity. I'm against it. I'm for putting services back in the Wellington Hospital for mental health too.
tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit over here. I'm not going to stand up until you've got 10 seconds left in your response. And from there, then we'll have you executed if you don't. Is that what you said, Grant? That was along those lines.
Yeah, our means to keep you on time get increasingly dire as the evening goes on. You have to be 1 minute.
So what was the question again? What do I bring? Is that what it was?
What do you bring and what is you're going to do specifically to improve quality of life here in Niagara Centre?
Sure. Well, first I'll listen to the people. I just feel like there's not really anybody out there that's listening to the little guy. And that's what we need in this, especially in the wildlife world. We need that. What will I bring? Well, I'll keep fighting for what I believe in smaller government and less regulation. And more choice for people, letting people choose where they want to send their kids to school. Why can't people homeschool their kids? Why can't people send their kids to private school using the public money? If we already have the money there for them to go to a public system, why can't that money go to the parents? And let them decide what's best for their child. So I'm going to listen to people, and I am listening to people, and that's why I'm running with the Libertarian Party this year. Thank you.
Wow, a lot to take in. I've been fortunate enough to work abroad for a number of years, working for the United Nations in a couple of roles, and having moved to the Welland area, Niagara Centre. I've seen a lot of things that make me love Ontario more and more. The things that I had missed when I moved away. But the climate here, amazing. For the rest of Canada, I think there's something to be jealous about. And I think there's opportunities here because of our climate and where we are situated for industry, for the farming community. We have the biggest retiree population in Canada. We have to start thinking about these things more holistically and trying to sort out why are we spending the money we are spending and what we could do to do it more efficiently. The Green Party offers that. I hope to provide that canvas to let you see that there's options out there. Thank you.
So I think the question was, why are we running and what are we going to do? Why I'm running. All the things that I've heard over the years as being a South Niagara mayor and the challenges that people face with hydro rates, price at the pump, everything's impacting them. And I know that it's having a seat at the government table. That's the most important thing. The PC party will form government, and it's important to be there with them when they do so that we can get things like infrastructure funding. I know some of the local municipalities are looking for infrastructure funding in the very, very near future, and those are the things that we need. And I know some people mentioned investment in mental health, investment in our hospital, investment in long-term care beds to bring those wait times down in our hospitals. So those are just a few of the things, a few of the reasons why I'm running.
So this is my third time running. I'm a fighter. Over the last 40 some odd years in Niagara Centre and the old Welland riding, if you honestly take a look back at, what concrete legacy has the NDP left in Niagara Centre, I'm hard pressed to think of one. So I want to be the biggest cheerleader. I need to work with the mayors and councils and the economic development officers of all of our municipalities to be that cheerleader to bring economic prosperity to the region and work with our federal MP. With the federal government, Niagara has been declared a foreign trade zone. That will provide us with more opportunities for our young people to stay. My son has left Niagara to work in Ottawa, and it breaks my heart. He could not stay here to find a good quality paying job. So I will be your biggest cheerleader at Queen's Park. I know how things work, and I will get things done.
Whoever gets elected here has some really big work boots, cowboy boots, and stilettos to fill. And so make no mistake, we have 43 years of fantastic representation that everyone in the province knows about. And that inspires me. The other thing that inspires me is that, I don't know if anyone else has been watching the polls, but sorry, April, it's not a sure thing that you're going to have a majority government. And if the NDP gets elected, I am really excited about the platform that the NDP has put forward. It's good for people, it's changed for the better, and I'm excited about it. Thank you.
and then go down the line. If you would allow me to ask you, if you're under 30, would you please stand? A couple fake First of all, amazing that you're here. Absolutely amazing that you're here. I'm some of the brightest students you can imagine, and I hear their problems all the time. And what is really disheartening is after graduation, seeing them all go to Alberta, seeing them all go to any other province, it seems, but Ontario, let alone stay here in the Niagara region. So Maddie and I are on the same page as this. There is a brain drain. Our youth are leaving. They don't have a lot of options here. They maybe work here, but it's precarious work. I want